Hi all, I welcome you all to the next lecture today. Today I am going to cover the high speed wind tunnels. In prior lecture, we have seen the working principle of low speed wind tunnels and their different component and their functioning. Myself, Professor Ravi Kumar, School of Mechanical Engineering, Shastra, DMTV University. So let's start our discussion today, with the high speed wind tunnel. So if we look at the classification of wind tunnel, especially in high speed flows, in high speed flows, basically flow velocity will be expressed in terms of Mach number. So based on the Mach number of test section, we can classify the high speed wind tunnels into four categories. One is subsonic wind tunnel, then transonic wind tunnel, and supersonic wind tunnel, and hypersonic wind tunnel. If my Mach number is less than 1, right, that will be considered as subsonic tunnel. If Mach number in test section lies in the range of zero point 0.8 Mach to 1.8 Mach number, those tunnels will be called as transonic tunnels. And if my Mach number is greater than 1.8, right, in the test section, right, up to the Mach number 2, we can term those tunnels as supersonic wind tunnels. If Mach number in test section lies greater than 5, right, and we term those tunnels as hypersonic tunnels. So based on the applications and based on the test section speed, right, we can classify the high speed tunnels into these four categories. So what are the high speed wind tunnels? Right, high speed wind tunnels are the tunnels in which test section speed will be more than 650 kilometer per hour or 180 meter per second as stated in the low speed tunnel. All right. So this is the threshold value. Right. Above that, right, as all the tunnels which are maintaining speed above it will be termed as high speed wind tunnel. So like low speed wind tunnel, high speed wind tunnels are also classified based on the operation. They may be intermittent or open circuit tunnels. Second is continuous return circuit tunnel. All right. The power required basically to derive a low speed wind tunnel varies as the cube of the test section velocity, right? So, if we are going for high speed wind tunnel with a larger, wind tunnel length, in that case, power requirement will be more to maintain the continuous flow, right? To avoid necessity of such a very huge power requirement to drive tunnel, what we do there, we do the intermittent operation, right, where we'll have a reservoir where we will store the high pressure energy and it will be sent to the test section of a wind tunnel for a shorter period of time. That's why all the supersonic or high speed wind tunnels used to operate for a few seconds, in which you have to take all the necessary experimental data. So, as I explained, because of the power requirements, high speed wind tunnels are often intermittent type, in which energy is stored in the form of pressure or vacuum or both, and is allowed to drive the tunnel only few seconds out of each pumping hour. So again, if you want to classify the intermittent tunnels, they can further classified into three categories: blown down tunnels, induction tunnels, and draft tunnels. Blown down tunnels means we are having external reservoir where we are storing energy as a pressure energy, then we are sending it through the non-return valve and it's going through the dissection. Induction, no need to store that much energy, right? Just you send some portion of energy and it will be sucked up by the a vacuum tunnel, which will be at the exit of the vent tunnel. Similarly, in in draft tunnel configuration is similar, like almost induction tunnel, but in that case the valve that will be using at the exit will be bigger compared to the induction tunnel. So if we look at the experimental range of wind tunnel, The Mach number range from 0.5 to 5 is usually termed as high speed flow. So tunnels with test section Mach number less than zero point 0.9 is grouped and treated as subsonic tunnels. Even in subsonic also we will have a high speed flow. As clearly we have mentioned, the density will be constant only up to the Mach number zero point 0.3. If you are crossing zero point 0.3, right, then compressibility correction needs to be done. Or when compressibility comes into the picture, those flows will be termed as high speed flows. So in subsonic tunnels also we can generate the high speed flow. That's why the range of Mach number from 0.5 to 5 is usually termed as high speed flow. But subsonic tunnels will be having maximum possible Mach number in the test section of the order of 0.9. So wind tunnel with Mach number from 1.5 to 6 are classified as supersonic wind tunnel basically, and Mach number with more than 5 is termed as hypersonic wind tunnels. So this is the schematic diagram of balloon type high speed wind tunnel. This I have taken from the Boeing website. It is given there. This is the source which have been mentioned here. So if we look at the balloon type, as I said, it requires the reservoir, right? This is the reservoir where we will store the energy at high pressurized air, right? So when you are pressurizing it, we need a compressor, right? Compressor is here, and then dryer is a test. So let's suppose if airflow which is coming out of the compressor is having any moisture content will be taken out in the dryer, then the dry air at very high pressure will be stored inside this reservoir, right? And these are the two valves, right? One is the quick opening valve, another is throttle valve, right? Two valves are attached. Then this is the settling chamber, right, where constant pressure and temperature will be maintained, right. Then this is the throat, right. If you look at minimum area, then test section starts, right, immediately after divergence section. So this is the conversion section, this is the divergence section. Why do we need a conversion divergence section? To accelerate the flow to the supersonic speed, right. Up to here flow will be subsonic, right. The moment you are sending from the reservoir, velocity will be less. The moment it is expanding through CD nozzle, right, is a convergent divergent nozzle. At the exit of the convergent divergent nozzle will have a supersonic flow, and that supersonic flow will be traveling over the model which will be mounted here on the test section, right. This is a test section. Then further this is diffuser section, right. It goes from here, right, and finally this is the silencer, which silencer is needed because air at very high speed supersonic flow will be allowed to expand right through this. So it will be creating a noise, and that noise need to be suppressed. That's why this silencer is attached at the exit of the divergent portion for the test section. So this is the generic, schematic diagram of intermittent type of blown down tunnel, right. So what are the different components which are needed? Compressor is needed, dryer, then reservoir is needed. This is very much important thing. And from here through two valves, right, one is a quick opening valve, we will open, and is the throttle valve. So airflow will go under throttling, right. So throttling basically you are expanding it, right. The movement is entering into the settling chamber. Here constant pressure and temperature will be maintained, that is called stagnation pressure and stagnation temperature will be maintained. Then it expands through this CD nozzle to become supersonic flow. The movement is entering into the test section. So this is a very generic setup of a blown down tunnel. So what are the advantage of blown down type wind tunnels? They are simplest among the high speed tunnel types and most economical to build, right. Large size test sections and high Mach number can be achieved, right. So look at the test section, sizes will be bigger, right, and yeah, Mach number up to 4 can be obtained, right, in the test section. Constant blowing pressure can be maintained and running time for considerable duration can be achieved, right. Failure models usually will not result in tunnel damage. So your model is mounted here. So if your model is going to fail, it is not going to affect the tunnel, boundaries. It will come out in a silencer and you can remove it. So these are the some of the advantages of blown down type wind tunnel, but there are disadvantages too, right? That also need to be considered, right, before selecting this type of tunnel for your experimentation. So what are the disadvantages? First is charging time to running time will be very high for large size tunnels. So if we are going for large size tunnel, then charging the reservoir, and when you are operating it, that ratio will be very small, right? So it may be operating for 30 seconds, but it will be requiring 7 to 8 hours for charging the reservoir. Second biggest drawback with blown down type wind tunnel is that stagnation temperature in the reservoir drops during the tunnel run. So thus changing the Reynolds number in the intersection. So why basically the stagnation temperature decreasing in the reservoir? Because we are expanding the flow right in the CD nozzles. The moment we are trying to get very high velocity, that is called supersonic velocity at the exit of CD nozzle, our stagnation temperature decreases. So it requires to monitor the stagnation temperature. How to monitor that? You have to either heat the reservoir, right, to maintain the same constant temperature. So further heating is needed. So there is additional penalty, right, on the wind tunnel. So another disadvantage is an adjustable throttle valve between the reservoir and settling chamber is necessary for constant stagnation pressure. If you want to maintain constant stagnation pressure, then throttling valve is needed between the reservoir and settling chamber. The starting load is very high, right? There is no control over this, right? And another thing is that commonly employed reservoir pressure is of around 100 to 300 psi for blown down type of wind tunnel. So that much pressure need to be built up in the reservoir, and that needs a lot of time to charge the reservoir. Second one is induction type, where instead of having very large reservoir here, we will have a vacuum tank here. So what vacuum will do? It will suck the air at very high speed. So we are having a valve here, right? The moment we open the valve, it will suck the air at supersonic speed, right? Why supersonic speed we are getting? Because we are having the convergent divergent section right here, the CD nozzle. So initial velocity by which it is entering into the wind tunnel will be subsonic. Now in conversion section to accelerate reaches a Mach number 1 at the throat, then further in divergence section what will happen, it will again accelerate and we reach a supersonic speed at the test section. So here dryer is a test. So purpose of dryer is to remove the moisture from the air, and this vacuum pump will suck the air inside right at supersonic speed. So it will be leaving at exit at supersonic speed through this valve, it enters into the vacuum tank and finally it goes to the atmosphere with the help of vacuum pump. So compared to balloon down type wind tunnel, this is equipment design is simpler, and also continuous flow operation is possible and for a longer period of time. Next one is in draft type wind tunnel. In draft type wind tunnel, if you look at the test section particularly, test section will be very small. Here it is still bigger, but smaller than the blown down type wind tunnel. But here test section is very small. Why do we are keeping? Because we need to accelerate the flow at supersonic speed by reducing this additional vacuum pump, which was requiring for rejecting the air to the surrounding. So instead of rejecting, just we will store here, and some portion of air will be rejected to the valve. So valve will be attached at the exit, right, and covering the entire exit area. But in this case, it was a small valve through which it was coming in vacuum tank, then we were releasing the air out in the atmosphere. But in this case, air will be released from the moment it comes at the exit of diffuser, it will be released on both side of this valve, right? Both side of this valve, and the rest of things will go to the vacuum sphere. So flow comes from here. This is the flow conditioner, right? Flow conditioner. Then CD nozzle starts, will get a supersonic speed in the test section, right? And finally it decelerates and it comes out through the valve to the atmosphere, right? But in draft, basically test section size will be smaller, so smaller models can be tested, right? But in other two cases, a bigger model can be tested. So if we compare the draft with pressure driven wind tunnel, that is the first one, blown down type, to be compared, stagnation temperature at the supply condition is constant during a run in the case of in draft wind tunnel. So total pressure will also be the same, so there is no fluctuations as those generated by the pressure regulator. But in the case of pressure driven wind tunnel, Reynolds number can be varied right at a particular Mach number because of the reduction in the stagnation temperature at the reservoir end. Second is no possible contamination such as that due to oil. So there we are using conditioner, right, through which we can remove the contamination. Here in the case, in the case of pressure driven, right, cost is much less than the in-draft tunnel, right. This is one advantage. All right, vacuum is safer to handle than pressure, right. And pressure, basically we have to store and we need a big reservoir and very high strength, material should be used for, construction of that reservoir, that will basically increase the cost. So vacuum is safer to handle than pressure. Pressure regulators are not needed, particularly in the case of vacuum tank used wind tunnel. But in the case of a reservoir that is a blown type or pressure driven, pressure regulators are needed. So that's the extra cost. So if we again compare intermittent, that is blown down wind tunnel, with continuous wind tunnel, right? Blown down is simple to design and less costly, right? But continuous wind tunnel, we need more control, right? On conditions and return to given a test condition with more accuracy. So slightly complex design is will be involved in the case of continuous wind tunnel. Here a single drive may run several tunnels, right? But here checkpoints are easily obtained, no panic of rapid testing. Model testing is more convenient in the case of intermediate, but here is slightly complex, right? Set condition can be held constant for a longer time. That's one thing. Extra power is available to start, right? Particularly for intermediate time, this requires lesser power, right? Failure of model will not result in the tunnel damage, but here if model fails, it will cause tunnel damage, because we have clearly seen here model is there. If it is going to fail, it is going to directly hit over this vacuum sphere, so there will be a lot of damage in both the cases, right? You see here, but in first case, here if it is damaged, it will come out right directly through silencer. So that what is the biggest disadvantage in the case of continuous wind tunnel. So what are the different components of high speed wind tunnel? As I said, air storage tank is needed if we are going for blown down type wind tunnel. So size of storage tank will be dependent on the mass flow required and the frequency of runs. Right. So pressure storage tanks are available on self basis, right? They are mounted horizontally or vertically. In some mineral you will find the reservoir in horizontal, or some it will be vertical. So tanks are usually painted black to absorb heat. They are provided with safety disc or pressure relief valve, right? Because those are needed before entering into the settling chamber. So as air is drawn from the storage, polytropic expansion takes place within the tank. This results in drop of reservoir temperature, which is very bothersome. So because of this loss, drop of stagnation temperature, right, in the reservoir, we need to heat it up, right, to maintain same control condition in the test section. So fall of stagnation temperature causes resultant change in steam temperature of a given Mach number. So change in temperature results in change in viscosity, right, which in turn affect the boundary layer thickness, right. So change in Reynolds number and Mach number during a run does consequently to fall in reservoir temperature. To maintain constancy of stagnation temperature, it is practiced to stock the reservoir volume with empty metallic can, right, usually be put in that. They can serve as a heat storing matrix during compression and can release heat during expansion. Another way of maintaining constant stagnant temperature is by providing the heater units in the reservoir, but that is actually not recommended because of the chances of fire. So the first method is actually recommended. Empty metallic cans can be kept inside the reservoir. They will store, they will absorb the heat during compression, which compression is taking place, and they will release it during expansion. So constant temperature can be maintained. So if we look at the settling chamber, which is basically needed, right? So these are the three different designs, right, by which we can send the air inside the settling chamber. One is either this kind of wide angle diffuser. Wide angle diffusers can be attached. It may be like this, or it can be oriented like this. Right here, the screen, right, to make the flow uniform. So this A and B are the design called as wide angle diffuser, and last one is the reverse entry into the settling chamber. So if through this air will come, then it will reverse and goes to the screen. So settling chamber, if we look at the wide angle diffuser lead to the flow to the settling chamber. Arrangement for leading to the flow of settling chamber may be one of the method of ABC. Any one of this method can be utilized. Uniformity of the flow in the test section is improved if large area ratio contraction is provided. Right. So large area ratio contraction is provided. That means area at this entry and exit of that convergent portion should be bigger enough, right, to minimize the losses. That is the point. Uniformity of flow in the section is only improved if large contraction ratio is used. So any of these three methods can be used for settling chamber. If we look at the convergent divergent order, this is basically needed to generate the supersonic flow. Without convergent divergent order, we cannot generate the supersonic flow. So CD nozzle forms the basically it is the main component of the supersonic wind tunnel. So the area ratio of CD nozzle when we compare it will be exit area divided by throat area. So this will be decided based on the exit Mach number. So let's suppose we want to generate supersonic Mach number, then this area ratio will be slightly bigger, right? Exit area and throat area will be slightly bigger to get the Mach number. When the tunnel operation starts, the flow is initiated in the nozzle as subsonic, right? It will be entering as a subsonic, reaches at Mach number 1 at the throat, right? And then finally it comes out from the divergence section as a supersonic flow. So chances are there choking may occur, right? Choking means choking condition calls if at the throat of the nozzle we have a Mach number is equal to 1, then we can say it is a choking condition, that is the nozzle has been choked and we have attained the maximum possible mass flow rate to the nozzle. At that point we will have a Mach number exactly equal to 1 at the throat. If we are able to get exactly Mach is equal to 1 at the throat, then definitely at the end of the diffuser section we will have a supersonic flow. So under this condition, maximum mass flow rate for a given stagnant temperature takes place through the nozzle when Mach number is exactly 1. Keep in mind this is the condition called choking condition. So these are the various components which are needed basically for the high speed wind tunnel. Let's go for the special purpose wind tunnel. This is the one example schematic diagram I am presenting here. This is showing a Formula One car, right, in a tunnel. So this tunnel you look at, this is the bigger one where we are testing actual prototype. So this Formula One car is mounted over here, right? These are the hinges by which we are keeping this stationary, right? And one connection is from the top as well. So over that the flow is traveling, right, like this, and we are visualizing the flow behavior over the surface, and also parallel to that we can easily find out the resultant drag forces, right, and the area where we are having adverse pressure gradient, so that we can minimize and make it more streamlined. And look at here, you are able to see here, this is basically control room, right? Both sides will have a control room, this side and this side, and from there we will visualize, and finally we will calculate the performance parameters. So this kind of full scale automobile wind tunnels are also available. All the automobile companies are using aerodynamic testing at the end, right? All the vehicles used to be tested, right? Bike, starting from bike and going up to the four-wheeler trucks and all, everything should be tested aerodynamically, and for that the special purpose wind tunnels were invented and manufactured. Next one is icing wind tunnel, right? This is required to study the behavior of the airflow on the aircraft wing when aircraft used to fly at higher altitude, right? So usually it will be a closed circuit kind tunnel, right? If you look at this schematic diagram, it is I have taken from the NASA website. So this is basically one tunnel, means a fan is there which is attached with a motor, 500 horsepower fan, and these all corners you are seeing, these are the guide vanes, right? These are the guide vanes. So flow will come from here, right, and goes through the guide vanes. Finally, then this is a cooler, right? 2100 ton cooler. Now you can imagine in our house we are having only 2 ton or 3 ton AC. How much cooling it can produce? Now here it is 2100 ton cooler which is provided, so it will cool the air to the required temperature value which can be obtained at a particular altitude. And finally when it comes here icing spray is also installed, right? So I think spray is there. This is a spray var control room. From there we can control the flow of ice spray, right? Then it comes here. This is the control room, right? North control room and south control room. Both side control rooms are there, and here we'll mount the model, right? And this model is mounted at 430 mile per hour test section 6 by 9 feet. So total test section length is 6 to 9. This is the total area of this test section. And finally it comes from here. This is the access door provided for model, right? Mounting, you can go from here and you can access here. This is the balance chamber. You look at here, this is the balance chamber, right, where basically all sensors and all items will be kept here, and directly we can get the readings over here, right? So through this screen, all right, and then again it's recirculate and again process continues. So this kind of process is there in icing wind tunnel, right? Icing wind tunnel. So this is one of the schematic diagram, right? Actual picture inside the test section. So the purpose of this is to study the icing problems, right, on the aircraft wing. Aircraft wing may be mounted vertically, like to study the effect on vertical stabilizer, or they may be mounted horizontally, right, like a wing, and we can study how actually ice used to form, right, and how to avoid the ice formation, right, and what are the different techniques that we can use to de-icing the things that can be studied in this kind of wind tunnel. So with this, right, high speed wind tunnels and special purpose wind tunnels are over. If you are having any doubt in this section, please feel free to write in the comment section, or you can directly send me WhatsApp message. Already I shared with you my WhatsApp number, where you can directly contact to me. So with this topic particularly, we have covered the wind tunnels, right? So as a summary, I must say we have covered the low speed wind tunnel, right, where we have seen different types of wind tunnels under that, right, based on their operation, right, based on their geometry. Then finally in today's lecture we have seen the high speed wind tunnels, right. Here wind tunnels will be classified based on the Mach number, because Mach number is very very important in high speed flows, because high speed flow density will be varying, we cannot consider as constant. So compressibility effects will be predominating in this case, right, in the high speed flows. So based on Mach number you can divide them into four categories. Already you have seen subsonic, transonic, supersonic and hypersonic. So based on the requirement you can select the wind tunnel. Alright, so like when we are talking about supersonic wind tunnel, definitely whenever flow is traveling at a supersonic speed, right, shock formation will take place. So model that you are mounting inside, right, over that boundary, shock formation will take place, and we will study the shock characteristic, how shock is behaving, right, and because of the presence of that shock wave, what is happening to the physical properties of the airflow, that need to be studied, and what is the impact of those physical properties over the surface of that particular object, that also be studied. So let's suppose you want to study the aerodynamic heating, that can also be studied, and if you want to know the flow regimes, right, on the top and bottom surface in the supersonic flow, that can also be visualized, and net effect, right, what is the effect on lift and drag, that can also be studied in a supersonic flow, like we were studying in the low speed wind tunnel, right. And after that hypersonic flow, particularly those are needed to test the space vehicles, right, or the vehicles which will be used for re-entry into the earth atmosphere. So those need to be tested in hypersonic speed range. For that hypersonic wind tunnels are invented, right. So the model size in a hypersonic wind tunnel will be smaller than in a hypersonic wind tunnel will be smaller than the supersonic wind tunnel, right, because supersonic wind tunnel will be traveling at lower compared to the Mach 5, it will be at lower side, so we can still use bigger size model, but in generating the hypersonic flow, right, flow has to go through very small passes. So test section size will be smaller, right, for the hypersonic wind tunnel. When test section size is smaller, right, then smaller models only will be mounted inside the test section, right? That's the main reason, and that has to be operated for a few seconds, right? Like if supersonic tunnel is operating only for 30 seconds, then hypersonic wind tunnels will be operating only for 10 or 15 seconds. Within that, you have to take all the measurement of the parameters, right? There is hypersonic mineral. Then special all the biggest original equipment manufacturer like Boeing. Boeing is having its own a special purpose wind tunnel where they used to test full scale aircraft, as well as they are having smaller wind tunnels where first they will test the model, then they go for actual prototype aerodynamic testing. Similarly, NASA is having full scale, wind tunnels where they are testing full scale, fighter aircraft, military aircraft, or advanced fighter aircrafts, right? All like General Motor, particularly, and General Motor is the biggest player, right? Particularly in automobile industry, they are having full scale automobile wind tunnel, right? Where they are testing full scale car, trucks, and all everything they are testing in that. So every company is right, mostly biggest player, they are having their own special purpose internal. So like that we can classify, right? And I think I have covered all the types of wind tunnels. So still, if you are having any doubt in this topic, please feel free to contact me. So see you all in the next class with a new topic. Have a nice day. Good day.